Hey, everybody, welcome to today's episode of the What Worked For You show. Our guest today, hold on, we're going to pause for a moment. I forgot to ask you something. How do I pronounce your last name?
Torossian.
Torossian?
Torossian.
Torossian.
Yeah, there you go.
Torossian.
It's okay.
That's what I was forgetting. I knew there was something.
It's okay. This gives me a chance to let down my hair. It's okay.
Perfect,
I
perfect.
forgot I was gonna let down my hair.
See,
There
I
you go.
wasn't
It's a
crazy.
little better this way.
I knew I was forgetting some, and then when I was just like, oh, wait a shoot, I forgot I started pronouncing her name. Torossian.
Yeah, you got it.
All right. Now we're gonna do it. Hey, everybody, welcome to today's episode of the What Worked For You show. And today we're gonna talk accounting. We're gonna talk the world of CPA. We're gonna talk coaching. Because here's the thing, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, this world of accounting, it's not a subject that's super attractive to a lot of people, but it is so incredibly critical. And if we don't get it right, it can cause all kinds of havoc on our business. So our guest today, she is not only has a CPA firm, an award-winning CPA firm at that, she is a coach on the subject. She's been in this accounting field for a long time, and she helps people make sure they get this right. And as a great accounting firm founder, she is also a business strategist, because guess what? Accounting is not just numbers, there is strategy to get this right. She is also a speaker, and she is highly renowned as an authority in this space. So with that, Marie Torossian, I hope I got that right.
You
How
got it
are
right,
you?
Frank. I'm doing great. How about you? I'm so excited to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm glad I got it right. So we're already off to a good start.
Yes.
So let's dive in.
Sure.
You have an award-winning firm, um, and you've also earned the 10X Elite Coach distinction, working with Grant Cardone. What do you think sets your work apart from others in this financial and coaching space? Because you are an authority in this area.
Yeah, so what really stands out as the way I work is that I'm combining everything that I've learned from Grant Cardone, which is my mentor, everything about mindset, marketing and sales, and I combine into my operations and financial background. Starting my career as an auditor, I really understand how the company needs to be structured in the back end, what are the risks that we have to look at, and segregation of duties. But at the same time, being a CFO, I also know what it takes to grow a business, what are the numbers behind it, what's the strategy behind it. So when I'm coaching in the different areas because a business owner might be having a trouble, let's say, marketing for now, then that's what we're going to focus on. And if it's operations, then we're going to focus on operations, because in every business, you're going to have those four, what I call is the pillars: marketing, sales, operations, and finance. So my coaching becomes more of a 360 instead of just one specific area.
Love it. So you're coaching people in different aspects of their business, is what I think I just heard.
Yes, yes.
I love that. I love that. So let's talk about, and we're going to talk more about the financial side, but real quick, this elite coach distinction
Hmm.
in Grant's 10X sphere. Like, it sounds good, but what is it? Like, what
No,
is
I
it?
love it. I know it can get very confusing, and the naming has changed a little bit. They've shifted the branding to 10x Performance Coach, but just to peel it back. So what Grant did a few years back is, he wants to reach 8 million people all around the world and bring his sales and marketing and his training to all the business owners out there. So with that, he opened up an opportunity to certify other business owners, experts in their own field, to bring those materials to their clients, their prospects. So with that, when they opened up that opportunity, it's like a license you purchase into it, and it's a one-time thing. And then you go through a specific certification. So there's like 5 levels of certification before you can call yourself a 10x business certified business coach. And there's about 600 of them all around the world. What makes me unique as a previously called elite, but now performance coach, is that, from the group of 10X certified coaches, Grant handpicked a few. What we are now 30. At some point, when we started, there was maybe 5 to 10. We are now 30 of them. And he handpicked us to be able to coach his mentees, his clients. So it gives me a unique opportunity not only to be of service to him and his clients, but still gives me the freedom of doing my own coaching through the Profit Lab.
So this is a program where you're not just like, hey, here's how to learn to be a coach and learn all these principles, and you help just people in the world. You're literally helping people that are coming to Grant,
Right,
effectively
right.
an extension of him.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Okay, okay, got it. So there's 30 people. So, so that's an honor when somebody says to
Absolutely.
you, hey, I trust you enough and I'm confident enough in you to teach people that are coming to me, but of course he only
Right.
has so much time in the day, as any successful
Of
entrepreneur
course.
does. What have you learned from working alongside people in that community, this group of 30, so to speak?
Absolutely. I mean, that's a great question. I think what sets the group apart is that we are still part of the full Grant Cardone, one of his companies, but as a group, we are very attached in the sense of we are doing things together. So, for example, as a coach, I might, bump into a situation maybe I'm not as familiar, or it could be an emotional situation that I didn't know, how to perfectly handle. So over time, what has happened is that we have become a resource to each other as well. So I can very easily ask one of the other coaches, like, hey, I have this unique situation with a client. I would love to serve them better. This is what I'm thinking. What other advice do you have for me? So having a continuous flow of those touch points with other coaches, plus additional trainings that we get from our main director. So there's just continuous flow of coaching and training we are doing to improve ourselves. And that's a really great way to work, and which I haven't seen in let's say even prior business, employers that I've worked at, where they're not even bringing training to their team. So in Grant Cardone world, everybody's training and getting better every day, and that sets us apart.
Gotcha. So you're going through this steady improvement with your colleagues here in that world,
Mhm.
but then you're running an accounting firm.
Yes.
How has, what has been the biggest thing you've learned in this group of elite coaches that has brought the most direct positive impact to your accounting firm?
This is a great question too. Um, it's not just the elite team. I've been in the 10X community since October of 2020. So over time, the amount of training that I've done and the implementations I've done is what has gotten my fairly small firm the attention that it has received, and being able to even be awarded, because I personally am one of those that not just wants to learn something, but I go out and implement. That's the biggest problem I see when I'm coaching others. They have lots of ideas. They go and learn and spend money on things that, let's say, conferences and all that, but they come back and do nothing. So if you're not really implementing anything, nothing's going to improve. So the biggest improvement I would say is that just the fact that I've been able to get the right information and then come back to actually implement that information that I received.
So this idea of implementation, this is a big deal in the world of business, and really it's just a big deal in life, period.
Yeah.
What do you find to be the biggest blockade as to why people don't implement more? I mean, I had a coach once say to me, all of us have either an electronic or a drawer full of amazing information
Hmm.
that's waiting to be implemented. I mean, there's a lot of really smart people in this world.
Absolutely.
What do you find to be the biggest blockade in your experience?
I think the biggest blockade, and it depends on where that person is in their business journey. What I find is those that are just starting out, that they might be idea stage, or they might be, just trying to get attention. So they're still like right at the beginning. the biggest hurdle for them is overwhelm. That's a word they use all the time. And I'm trying to teach people not to use that word because when you're saying that, you keep telling yourself you're overwhelmed, you're giving yourself more negative feedback. So it's to change and then we take control of that overwhelm. So they take it personal, they take it inside, they get it, all these ideas, and they just don't have that focus and the muscle and the discipline to say, okay, in the next 90 days, I'm going to just focus on implementing this strategy. So they look at all the strategies, they get all these ideas, and then they just shrink back because they're like, I don't know where to start. So what we do as part of coaching is first we set the 90-day plan. We have goals for them, which again, I'm not going to give them the goals, but I could direct those goals right where they need to be. And then from there, I'm going to not just give them the skill sets, such as, go learn how to fish. It's going to be also how to hold them accountable. So when they show up on the next call, it's going to be like, what did you implement? These were the homework items. What did you implement? Which ones did you work on? Why didn't you work on it? What happened? So there's the conversation between not only, yes, the strategy, the skill set, and everything that they have to learn, but what did you do with it? So which is the biggest part of coaching, I think, the accountability.
So let's talk about that accountability, 'cause it's a perfect segue in my next question.
Okay.
We've all heard of the book, or maybe not everyone, but a lot of people have heard of the book, The One Thing.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's about that singular focus. And I sometimes wonder, are people too busy? Like we live in a world that's highly distracted, no
Of
question.
course. Of
So
course.
easy. Social media, just on that alone causes habit. But when we think about it, it's like, okay, if we tell somebody, like some people are very good at being able to manage multiple things,
Right.
but not everybody is. Like it's not built in everyone. Some are better than others, and if you're good at it, it may not be as good as the next person, right? And you get out of these levels, these different degrees. But when you really focus on one thing,
Mm-hmm.
some people still don't get it right. At which point, is it really a focus issue or is it potentially an alignment issue where maybe what they think they want to do really is not in alignment? It's
Yeah,
really
that's
not their ultimate goal. Like, what are your thoughts?
right. No, that's a great point that you make. And I know from myself, I would say starting a CPA firm was not my primary goal. That was not my primary goal. My goal was to have financial freedom and time with my children. I plan to be a consultant and maybe have 3, 4 clients, and that's it. That was as far as I thought that I think the first year or two. That is as far as I thought. And as I learned more things, and I started, starting that CPA business, and then people were asking me for other services. I'm like, I don't even do that. I mean, who do I find? Who do I find can do it? Because I still want to help, my clients. And I've onboarded, let's say, other collaborative partners that can actually complete that work. So down the road, at some point, let's say, why did I decide to become a coach? That's I want to segue to that. It's because for me, when I looked at down the road, I'm in my late 40s. When I started the firm, I was, see, sorry, 45, 45, I think, or 40, 44, something like that. So I was like early 40s. And so when I looked further out, I'm like, what does my life look like when I'm 50, when I'm 55, when I'm 65? I made that conscious decision that I don't want to stay in the detailed numbers anymore. That was not going to be me. So when you find that alignment, what is that next thing? Don't start that next thing until you're ready, though. So I didn't start doing the coaching right away. I continued training. I got the certification. And when the opportunity arose, I was able to start working with Grant as a coach. So it started expanding from there. But when I first started, that was not it. I didn't even know what my alignment was, right? So it's okay to pivot, but you have to know where that pivot time is. One thing that Grant always talks about, keep the main thing the main thing. So I didn't close down my CPA firm. I have no intention of closing it down. I will continue to grow it. But I know for myself, as in my person, will not continue being in the details. I have a team for that. So I make that switch after. So I think people have to figure out where that alignment is. And if it's not the right vehicle, when, and you want to switch, when is the right time to switch?
If it was so clear and so easy, we would all do it,
I mean, it's
right?
not
So,
easy. And I think, and here's the thing, most people feel bad about it. As a coach, I'd be like, don't feel bad about it. If you thought of something and it didn't work the way you wanted and you gave it all, then by all means, it's not the right thing. But I also know that a lot of people come with multiple ideas. And while we start working on that first thing, they're starting to do all the other things. Now the time frame is just going all over the place, and they use the word, I'm overwhelmed. But I'm like, but you didn't even work on the first thing. You didn't even launch the first thing. How can you start the second thing? You haven't learned anything from the first one. So my point is that it may not be always as clear. And that's why as a coach, you can hold that person in line and stay in focus so that at least they can accomplish that one thing they said they were going to do.
yeah, and I've coached a number of real estate investors over the
Uh-huh.
years. I do real estate, and it is astonishing how many things we start. And you're right, the first thing never gets done, and we're on to the second thing.
Yes.
Right, and in real estate, of course, you hear about shiny object syndrome, but the reality is that's in other things too. It's not unique to real
Absolutely.
estate.
It's for everything, every business, every situation. Just go on social media, everything is a shiny object. So
Yeah,
you have to use discernment.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, social media, whole different thing, but
I know.
yeah, it's a great thing when used properly, but using it properly can be a challenge.
You're
But
right.
let's talk about numbers for a moment because
Okay.
many business owners struggle to understand their numbers.
Mm.
I had the opportunity, it was roughly a year and a half ago or so, to sit in a room with a lot of high level entrepreneurs.
Mm.
And a gentleman came out there and said, we're going to talk about the P&L.
Yeah.
And he was a super successful gentleman who, sold tons of businesses, billions of dollars in exits. And I thought to myself, this is very interesting. We have a gentleman who's going to talk to a room full of very successful people about the P&L. So on the surface, you're like, that's interesting, like, right? Because you're assuming everyone in the room
Knows it.
knows this backward and forward. But what I found was fascinating was after 3 hours of this,
Hmm.
I remember my first thought that came to my mind after 3 hours is I want a refund from every CPA I've hired up to now. Because I learned more in 3 hours about the P&L
The
than I
P&L.
did in, at the time, 14 years of working with accountants. The right accountants help their business owners actually truly understand what their numbers are telling them.
Yeah.
What inspired you to go down that road to accomplish that?
Yeah. Um, I'm glad you asked that. And so just to differentiate, when someone is a CPA, it means that they have chosen an area. Obviously, we are licensed, and that means for the license, we've covered, the corporate accounting, the taxes, the business law, all those areas, and auditing. Um, but when you work with a CPA, most CPAs are, working on just tax prep and maybe some tax strategy. So they don't really get into the P&L. It's not their training to go into the P&L and really spend time in it. There's very few of those. From my background, getting into auditing, we are trained to get in and then look at and test everything that's happening, test revenues, test receivables, test liabilities, everything. So we're testing everything in the balance sheet and the P&L. And the speed that we have to learn the client's business is like you're in there like 2 to 3 weeks, and maybe a few weeks here and there. So let's say if we put it all together, like you're in and out in like a month and a half to 2 months. So that's a very fast way to learn what the business operations are, so yet you know what you're testing. I mean, I didn't stay in audit very long. For me, it was too mechanical, but corporate accounting was the next the place that I felt the best. So when I went into corporate accounting, having worked with my dad since I was little, so the operational, what I call it operational accounting, if in corporate accounting people might not understand. Operational accounting helps you understand what happened. And from a finance standpoint, you can also plan out where you're going. So for me, because I want to understand what's happening in the business and where we're going all the time, I just got more and more comfortable getting into the not only the numbers and looking at it, making sure like for an audit we're all good, but it was like, where are we heading? So I started getting into forecasting. My employer at the time, she gave me full reign. And, hey, why don't you give it a try? And I hadn't even done any forecasting, so it just helped me think beyond. It just I wanted to know where we're going, and that's a big shift because CPAs in general terms, that's not their training. They're not financial analysts. And I think that's where, because some business owners assume that the CPA is going to do everything, they just really don't get what they are really looking for. So it's important for business owners to know the difference and be able to ask for what they want so that they find the right accounting group or team. So on my end, my focus has always been to be more of a CFO advisory and focus on, are they audit ready? Are they, everything is booked correctly? Do they have a forecast for the next 3 years? Do they have a cash flow management system in place? So those are the areas that I'm focusing on as part of my firm. So it's all about the accounting, the operational accounting. And I just have a tax colleague that does all the tax work, so because I don't want to touch it. So that's how I've differentiated myself right from the beginning, because that's the area that I wanted to focus on.
So, a lot of business owners, this idea we talked about overwhelm, they
Mhm.
feel overwhelmed when
Yeah,
tax time comes. I don't know about other industries, but in real estate, a lot of CPAs, and I'm not trying to be negative, but this is how it tends to go. They'll say they're a tax strategist, and they'll have one tax strategy meeting a year.
gotcha.
That's, let's face it, anything we meet once a year to talk about, chance of success low.
Yeah,
Not to say it
yeah,
can't happen, because you're basically relying on the business owner's level of discipline and top of mind and all these types of things.
right.
It seems to me that to really have an effective relationship with your accounting, regardless of whether it's tax strategy, the operational, and so forth, really requires more of an ongoing conversation throughout the.
Hmm.
Is that something, and that's something I have found, is that something you foster in your business with your clients? It's like, we need to talk more than once or twice a year. We need to talk maybe monthly, every other month,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah. So definitely. So one of the things that I did right up front is, even when they sign up for even the most basic thing, let's say they just want bookkeeping, I always offer to have at least, if they're small, I say we should meet at least quarterly, and it's part of the package. So you get it anyway. I would love for you to jump in every quarter so we can have a conversation of what is happening. So it gives them a better idea to first understand what they're looking at. It's one thing for me to send the report. It's a whole different thing if we're looking at it together month to month, saying, hey, what has happened? Did you know what happened here? So it gives them a chance to think beyond. For companies that are a little bit bigger, we do a monthly. And then we also have forecasting, which will, in certain cases, we do a monthly video commentary and a quarterly meeting. So it depends how small the business is or the big the business is. Beyond that, when it comes to tax preparation and tax strategy, and again, we are having conversations throughout, but and here's the thing, some companies or some business owners, they're just looking for tax prep. And we are not going to force the tax strategy on them. I'm just not. I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to talk about it. I'm like, hey, we should be going into a little bit more. If you have goals of doing this, if your business is growing at this rate, we need to have a tax strategy around this. And then it becomes like a decision. Do they want to, hire us for the tax strategy, or do they just want to hire us for tax prep? But at least we have the conversation. We bring it up there and let them make that decision.
Gotcha. So it's really treated as a separate component.
It is. It is a totally different component. Tax prep and filing has nothing to do with strategy, and especially if it's the person's bringing things at the towards the back end. We're just, any CPA firm is just going to be so they would have so many filings to do that they're just going to file. So everything is filed timely. They're not going to be able to spend time in strategy. But those CPA firms that are changing from the old model to the newer model, at least they're bringing up these subjects to make the client aware that, hey, the tax strategy is a different service. We think it would be a good plan for you. These are the certain things that we would look at, and we have to meet ahead of time. So for those conversations, I start bringing it up through, somewhere around August, September, because before, the year ends, I'm like, this is the time. This is the time to do the strategy because we want to see how your year is going to end. And before it ends, we have a plan. It's not after year end. It's time is gone. So it's at least to bring up and make awareness for them.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely.
Hmm.
Well, let's step back in time for a moment. Kind of the opposite of, tax strategy, awareness. And I like that word awareness. What was the awareness? What was going on in your life that made you realize you want to get into this world of financial accounting? How did this all begin?
So I think so. It's a maybe we got to go back way back, but
Fair.
um, so I my dad opened up his first store, small business. I think I was 10 or 11, and I've been working with him since then. So whether it was putting inventory on the shelves or just working on the cash register, whatever. So I've been in like numbers and business for I think for as long as I can possibly remember. It was like a almost like a
Okay.
hobby. So and then I've noticed, and I'm from Lebanon, and my country has gone through so many wars. So and things have shifted so much, and I've seen my dad pivot and open a different business and a different business based on demand at the time. So I've seen him go through pains, going through cash flow issues. So it's been something I've seen throughout. And so I was like, I think 19 years old, 20 years old, I decided, okay, it's time to go to college. And I was like, I'm going to do uh, other business, but I wanted to stay on hospitality management because in my country, hospitality is always active. You can always make money because there's so many things you can do. It's a historical country. There's so many places that you could work. And then one of the first classes they put me in was accounting 101. And
Hmm.
it dawned on me, I was like, whoa, there are actual rules in this. I didn't know. There's actual accounting, like corporate accounting rules in this.
I
I
think
was like
people are
doing
still
this
saying that today.
manually.
So,
Yeah, manually figuring things out since I was a kid. So everything like cash basis, think of it, but like on paper. I didn't even know there were systems in place. Um, so that really intrigued me, and I finished that semester, and then the following semester I left the country, and then it was 3 years later that I ended up here in the United States. And so when I went back to college, I was like, I'm studying accounting because any business that I'm going to have, I'm going to need to know the accounting and finance behind it.
okay.
And that's
Yeah.
how I ended up in it. So it wasn't necessarily to become an auditor or a tax person. It was to understand and manage the numbers because any business that I want to do, which I always wanted to have a business, I need to know what is happening in there.
What a blessing to have that insight early in your career. A lot of business owners don't understand that the accounting is one of the fundamentals of business.
Yeah.
I'm in real estate. Real estate's usually taught in a bubble. And it was several years later before I understood, oh, wait, there's business fundamentals? I thought we were learning it all in real estate seminar class. No, no, no. That is not how that worked out. But once you start learning business fundamentals, you start looking back and it's easy to feel bad and go, wow, how much time have I wasted? How much farther I'd be a lot, right? Like it's easy to get into that,
Yes.
for me, and we can't go there. The past is
No.
past. But have you? But I just think it's cool that you learned about that fundamental early. How do you communicate to your clients? Well, actually, before we even get to that, let's continue the story. We'll come back to that. So you realize I gotta know, this thing about numbers, and I want to have a
Mhm.
business one day. So how did that evolve? Because I saw you had a number of roles in different places.
Right, right. Yeah, so I went to college here in Florida, and so I graduated my bachelor's, and I wasn't even thinking like I'm gonna go work for a corporation. I was really because I already had a job. I was working at a in a legal department as a legal assistant. So I was just focusing on finishing and getting my bachelor's. And so the last 2 semesters, I was part of the honor society, and then all these firms were coming in and they were talking about basically asking you, do you want to go audit or do you want to go tax? And I'm thinking like, what is the difference, right? Because I'm still like just learning just the basic accounting. I understand that there's tax rules, right? I understand there's audit, but I can still visualize what I'm going to be doing. So I had to basically, because they wouldn't even talk about consulting, they wouldn't talk about corporate. There weren't a lot of corporations coming to hire accounting students. It was mostly the public accounting firms showing up. So I'm like, okay, I guess I just have to pick one or two. So I don't really want to get into taxes. I just really don't like it. I'll go into audit because there's going to be a little bit more, details, and you're testing things and you're still kind of touching, and looking at the numbers there. So I went into auditing. I would tell you I didn't like it right away, but I stuck around for like 2.5 years until I was like, yeah, this is not really not working for me. But at that time, I learned so much. I have to say, doing 2.5, almost 3 years of auditing, it basically preps you to be moving right into an accounting manager controller position in a in a corporation because you learn so much in those 2.5 years that you just switch it to corporate. You're not going to be staff. You're going to be mostly control, of course, depending how big the corporation is. So that shift, that's where uh, that clarity came even further because I'm like, okay, I don't want to do tax. I don't want to do audit anymore. Corporate accounting is going to be the next thing. And if that doesn't work, I don't know. I just became an accountant. I'm a bachelor and a master's at this point, and I've already started studying for the CPA. I'm like, I'm just going to go with that. And then if I don't like that, then I just have to figure out after. But I loved corporate accounting. I love being in a position of a controller and then a CFO, working through not only the numbers, but when I'm planning, for example, the budget for the following year, and I have to look at all the payroll costs. I have to look at who are we hiring, and doing all those personnel, IT, all of that management. I love doing that. I just loved it. So I'm like, okay, this is definitely the area that I want to stay in for a while.
And so I noticed, first of all, the fact that you love it is great. There's a lot of people that don't love what they do, so that's always a good start. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
And I giggled when you mentioned the auditor because I sat there and I thought to myself, I don't know if I've ever met an auditor that says I love my job. I'm sure they exist. But when I'm sitting here thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know that I've
There's
ever
a
met
few.
that person. But anyway, that's a whole
Yeah.
other thing. But
Yeah.
you were an accounting manager, you were a CFO, you worked administrating and managing all these accounting things in different places. What was that moment that made you think, okay, now it's time
Like to move out to my own.
to start your business?
Yeah,
Because
starting
you
your own.
mentioned back in the early days you had an interest, got to know the numbers,
Yeah.
but several years went by. What went through your mind that you said, okay, now it's time?
Yeah. So I was at my employer for I think 5, 6 years. And the key thing for me was there was like a glass ceiling that I couldn't go further as a CFO. There was nothing else for me to do there. There wasn't that next thing that I was learning. So that was one of the things. So when you start doing the same thing over and over, eventually it gets a little bit boring, right? At least for me. So that was one of the things that I was like, well, I can't go any further. I can't make any more money. I can. So, and I'm starting to get bored doing the same thing. So I did apply for a few jobs, but in the back of my mind, there was always this thing. My son at the time was like, I think 2.5, 3 years old. And then I got pregnant with my second child, my daughter. And that was the point where I'm like, this is very difficult, to try to drop them off somewhere. I don't get to spend any time with them. I know at one of the situations, there was a meeting that I had to be in. It was a conference and a retreat. And my son was graduating that day from his kindergarten, whatever it was. And then I was at a dilemma. And my husband's like, this should be an easy decision for you. I don't understand. And that really hit me. It really hit me that I'm so committed, right? I'm very loyal to my employer, but then they're also not allowing me to kind of, be able to say, I'm sorry, I can't be here today. I need to be there for my child. So that was the next big thing that was like, I'm going to have to just do something on my own, be a consultant. So I have my own time, I have my freedom, and figure out from there. So my husband and I agreed. My husband's like, look, I'll support the basics. I'll take care of whatever needs to be taken care of. Whatever you could do is extra, but at least you get to just spend time with the family and you can be a mom like you really want to. So that was that second big thing that was, helping me make that move.
Mm, mm. And I love it that your husband was very supportive. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Made a huge difference there. So that's awesome. And so you made the shift. You started your business. Now, being in accounting, you had the numbers thing, probably had a good handle on that. What
Yes.
was the early days of being an entrepreneur? What was the biggest challenge you found you had
Whew.
to overcome? Because for a lot of people, it
Yes.
is the numbers and they don't even know it's a problem till sometime later. You knew that before you even started.
Yep.
So what was it for you that was
I
like, oh my
yeah,
God?
this is a great question, and it's true because so I could make the numbers, I could do my budget and the forecast. I knew how much money I still had in the bank. Like I could do all of this. The biggest challenge was how to find the client. Where do I look for them? Like I
Okay.
didn't have a plan per se. I didn't have a plan. I just knew that my husband was going to take care of whatever the basics needed to be taken care of. I'm going to do my job as a mom, and I'm just going to go on LinkedIn. I'm just going to look up, if there's a position, that's fine. If there's a consulting work, I'm going to look it up. That was where I started. And surprisingly, I think I was still on maternity leave, and uh, I saw an opportunity to, a consulting work that was available. I spoke to the gentleman and actually two of them that year. So that first year that I started, I had, I think, 3 or 4 clients that I found through LinkedIn. And I wasn't really cultivating. It just happened. They were just looking for service. I happened to see it. I applied to speak with them and, or more like, and so so that year I made more money than ever I've done before. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, okay. This could be the, God sent kind of a, saying, hey, yep, you're gonna be fine. Just this is your thing. And then COVID hit. And within that time, I mean, still I didn't know how to find clients. All I knew was, hey, there's this service through LinkedIn. People post like something, a service that they need. I could always, apply and talk to them and then take it from there. But I didn't really have a plan. I didn't even know where to start. Um, October 2020, at this point, I'm like, oh my God, I still haven't found any new clients. I still have those handful. Is when I bumped into Grant Cardone's training, The Wealth Creation Formula. It was a free webinar, and it was during COVID, so he was doing even more stuff free. And I learned so much in that 1 hour webinar. I was like, this is the person that's going to be my mentor. He taught me sales, he taught me marketing, he taught me that I needed to have multiple revenues of business, the revenue streams. So things that I was like, man, I have a master's in, in accounting. I'm a CPA, but I can look at numbers all day, but I didn't know any of that stuff, any of that. So I had to learn. I invested time, money, effort to learn and implement. And that's what has been the big shift. So that was the biggest challenge for marketing and just finding clients.
So effectively, you were an entrepreneur because I think that's most entrepreneurs. You like, I want to go start a business in X, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you're good at X. In your case, you were good at
Yes.
numbers, but we probably didn't learn sales, we didn't learn marketing, we didn't learn
None of that.
branding, and we didn't learn any of these things. And now all of a sudden,
Yeah.
find ourselves in a position where we're learning these things are important. So, and I'm glad you shared that because I think it's just a reminder to all our listeners that it's easy to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm drowning in all this, a sea of what I don't know.
Right.
But it can all be learned. It's just takes
Absolutely.
time. It's a process,
Absolutely.
just like you made that happen.
Absolutely. I mean, in 2020, I think everything I had earned from 2019, I invested in marketing agencies that didn't get me anything. I invested in other people providing trainings. I mean, I wasn't afraid to invest money. This is one thing I want to, pinpoint as well. Some business owners are just afraid to invest in themselves to what they need to learn or who they need to hire. I knew I didn't know marketing and trying to find clients. So I did try to hire people that appeared to be able to, but they still didn't understand my business, my CPA firm, and what we do. So when it was time to invest, for example, to train with Grant, it was almost like a no-brainer. I just have to figure it out. And as I implemented things that he had taught me, things shifted. I started actually branding myself. I knew how to start getting clients. I knew how to talk to clients. It's one thing to talk social. I'm a very social person. I can talk to anybody. But it's a whole different thing when you're trying to get a prospect to the close and you don't know what the steps are, right? So that was a big thing so definitely everything is learnable. You just have to commit. And that's what I was bringing up earlier. Like I'm an implementer. Whatever I'm investing in, I'm going to implement. I'm not going to just learn it and forget about
Love it. I love it. So true. So
it.
true. What's a lesson you've learned in life that, but it wasn't something you learned one time. It's something that keeps coming up repeatedly.
Mm,
It never is easy, but every time you relearn the lesson or are reminded of it, it pushes you forward.
mm, that's a good one. I think, and I know other people have that too. The fear the fear of the next step, I think it's very real. And the fear of, let's say, possibly losing a client and what does happen to the numbers. So, because I can look at numbers all day, in the past, at least the last 5 years, I've gone through like a repeat of, situations where, a client was too big and they had to move on to, have their personal internal team, which is fine. Like there's a limit, I serve clients up to 20 million and then, they do need someone internal, right? So I get that. So it could be that I've had situations where clients didn't pay me and I'm too nice and I just dragged and gave them opportunities and it put me in a very difficult financial situation. So that happened pretty much every year. I've had a situation like that every time. And it's difficult to go through and it brings so much fear into you, right? But I've learned how to mitigate those situations and be able to have the guts to, put your foot down and say, okay, I'm sorry, we're going to have to stop service because, unless there's an ongoing communication happening, to protect my own business as well, right? And the other thing that I've learned and knowing that these things happen and they will keep happening, the way I react to it is going to be the big difference maker. So if someone's going through these similar things, I would recommend just hang in there, keep doing the right thing, right? And then you'll push through and that you will start, you'll learn how to better handle that fear.
Yeah, and that's no, that's one that is definitely common. If you're in business, it's not if, it's when that happens.
It's when, and it will happen over and over. Like some people that I'm coaching with, they feel like if something doesn't go right the first time, that it's the end of the journey. Like it's not. I mean, the whole point is like you're going to fail, 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 learn, and then move on. Fail, 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 learn, and move on. So once you're comfortable with that idea, it's easier to say, you know what? Okay, I made a mistake. I should have put more, I should have been more bold. I should have said this. Now I know, and this is what I'm going to do next time. Or I'm going to take certain things I'm going to put in place. It's not going to come to that point. You
Well,
just said.
I bet you're a little less nice than you were before. But but let me ask you this, because you said a phrase, and I really liked the way you said it. I was like, you said the fear of the next step.
Mm,
As people, I've always been amazed at how often, and I'm certainly guilty of it myself, how easy it is to make the next step bigger than it has to be.
mm,
I've seen this with entrepreneurs that were startup to even uber successful people I've met where they're
yeah,
like, and they know I got to make the decision fast. I got it like right. They know everything. Like they know these are super sharp people. And
yeah,
even them, the reality is we're all human. You'll see that moment where they're like, I don't know. And there's concern about the next step. So it's something that
right.
affects everybody.
Hmm.
What's your strategy that helps you get past the fear of the next step that anyone could apply?
Absolutely. I think the the best way I can explain it is, at least the way I handle it, is who can I speak with that can help me get out of my own way, right? So, for example, and I mentioned earlier in our conversation, I could tap into one of the 10x coaches. I can have a discussion with my husband because everything that happens could be affecting our family. So he needs to know. So who are the people that are objective, right? They're not going to be one of those like influencing you the wrong way. So they can actually help you think through the pros and cons of what that fear is coming from, and then you'll be more comfortable moving forward. On a personal note, I have faith, so that plays a big role for me. And so I trust God, but I also go to ask a few people because God can speak through anyone. So I speak to very close couple of people, not everyone, just a couple of people that I trust, one of them being my husband. And the other one could be completely objective, right? Because they have nothing to do with the family. A professional, any of those 10x coaches that I can tap into, they're not only a friend, but they're professionals. So they're going to help me think through it in the most objective manner. So that relieves the pressure, and gives me clarity. So once someone is clear, it's easier to overcome. That fear will go away.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's so important. Like, I can't think of how many times I'm like, okay, we got to do this.
Yeah.
And you play it up in your head, right? You play it up in your head, you make this big thing. But I heard a statement once that I thought was really cool a few weeks ago, where, and there was a speaker, it was a globally known speaker. He told a story about his wife told him, you know, there are no difficult conversations. It's only difficult because of effectively your perception toward it.
Correct.
And I was like, that's one way to get there, right? Get right to the core
Yeah.
of it. So,
Yeah. It's like whatever it's blocking, you're the one blocking. Like, if you know what I mean, it's us doing it to ourselves because in our minds we can start thinking all the different areas, and then we start getting more fearful, and we start thinking of the worst case scenario instead of really being objective. So having that objective view is really helpful.
absolutely. So, speaking of being objective, going back to a question from earlier, when you work with clients and you're explaining to them about business fundamentals, in
Mhm.
particular in regards to accounting, how do you help them understand and really internalize the importance of this. Because for a lot of entrepreneurs, they'll come to someone like you and they'll be like, yep, it sounds good, they love it, and then a year later it's like you're having the same conversation.
Yeah. Here's the a difference that I want to, I guess, pinpoint. So when I'm working with um, our accounting clients, and let's say we're doing their financial review, the key areas that I'm focusing on is showing them where I'm seeing gaps, ups and downs, let's say, or irregular, revenues or whatever, which they may have not even paid attention to, right? Not everyone is, like you said earlier, like they could be, they could have a big company and still not be savvy in the numbers. So what I try to do is pinpoint areas for them to look at and go back to their team, or if it's just, it's small enough that it's missing maybe a couple of people, that's fine. Just to go back and say, what happened here? Why is the gap there? Or if it's expenses and I see something, jumping out at me, I'm like, oh, what happened here? What did you get? Was it really important? So I'm not coaching them per se, but I'm pinpointing areas of improvement, right? Because coaching is a little different than that, more of a consultative, here's what to look at. So as a coach, it's slightly different. As a coach, what I'm going to try to do is like ask him more questions on uh, what could you have done differently? Why do you think it got to this point? Did you check your numbers? So it's very specific to what was their, let's say, the sales, or what was their numbers behind it. So depending on the type of client, there's a minor difference as to how I do things.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Let me ask you a couple more things.
Yeah.
One is, and we haven't talked about it, I was like looking at your background, the Profit Lab.
Yeah.
What is the Profit Lab? Like, what's that about?
Yeah. So what I did is that I did not want to do coaching under my CPA firm. CPA firms have too many legalities and all that stuff. So I wanted to have the Profit Lab as the company where I have a lot more freedom to do different things. So a lot of my speaking engagements go through there. My coaching goes through there. And under that, I also have a marketing agency that I'm building out for specifically CPAs, because I understand their pain points and I know where they lack knowledge and they don't have the time or the ability to do things themselves. So the Profit Lab, think of it, it's just more of an open, platform for me to be able to do different things through there. Versus as a CPA, I just got to do the accounting and CPA tax work.
So it's effectively its own business.
Yeah,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
I love it. I love it. So as a business owner, you own multiple businesses,
Hmm.
multiple streams of income, right?
Yeah,
Doing
that was the whole thing. That's exactly how it started because I started thinking after that webinar, I'm like, okay, so I only do accounting right now. That is it.
exactly.
I have nothing else going on. So that's where it was a lot of thinking through, but not doing everything right up front. I didn't start the Profit Lab until mid 2022. Once I became, a certified coach, I didn't start that company. But I have to tell you, the second company was a lot easier to start because the other one I had spent 2.5 years building all the pieces. So repeating the same for the Profit Lab, getting the word out was a lot easier. So some people kind of like forget that that's why they need to do that first thing, go through the failures, build out the model, build what works, and then you can repeat for the next one.
I love it. So, you've built your career first from jobs, then to a business owner, now into multiple businesses, coaching, working with someone like Grant Cardone and so forth. So you've been able to create these successes. You've overcome the fears. You overcame those times where you were too nice, the next step, and so what's your message to that entrepreneur listening right now who's quietly wondering, which is a lot of them, even if they're already in business? A
Sure.
lot of entrepreneurs wonder this question: can I really build something successful?
Hmm. Yeah, this is definitely something that I've thought about as well, and I don't think it's an idea that ever disappears. I think you just become more resilient by taking action. So if you're not taking action, that thought is going to control you, but if you're taking action, whatever that action looks like, it could be, hey, I'm going to roll out that next product, or it could be, I'm going to hire my VA because I am up to here with all the work that I'm doing by myself. So I think it's about, yes, there is a big rate of failure, but there's also successes. So follow those that are being successful and model your business and your person. And when I say that word on purpose, you as a person have to be able to lead yourself. If you're leading yourself, then you can build that successful business. And you bring a lot of team members that can actually help you. For example, for myself, if I did not build a team that pretty much runs the accounting work, I could not do coaching for Grant. I would not have the time, right? And I've been those in time crunches where I'm like, oh my God, which one am I going to do? And
Sure.
decided, look, I need team members. So I hired one person in, I think, 2021. 2021? I think so. 2020 or 2021, I think, because I actually got sick. I had 5 clients at the time. I got sick and I couldn't finish the work that was supposed to be. Luckily, none of my clients are like, they're all privately owned. They weren't in a rush and they were very understanding and kind. But that was that first thing that stood out to me. I'm like, I need a second person that can do the work. And then from there, now I have 3, 4 people that work for me that are doing the accounting work, which gives me room to be able to go do speaking engagements, do the coaching, and still be the face of both of my businesses and handle all the sales calls.
And just hearing you share that, I was like, and you're an authority in your space, and just proof that you don't have to run some massive enterprise
No,
to be an authority that can go out and help people and serve others. So,
absolutely.
I love it, love it. Well, Marie, I want to thank you for popping on the show today. It's been a
Of
delightful
course.
conversation and just a great reminder to me of just the importance of just following the steps, keep moving, and just overcome because we all have things to overcome.
Right, right.
It's or as the saying goes, the 20 years the 20 years that it took to become an overnight success. So,
Right. Nobody saw all the other days that you were struggling.
uh,
Absolutely.
so I want to thank you
Absolutely.
again for sharing your wisdom. It was good stuff. I appreciate it. To our
I appreciate
listeners,
you.
thank you, no, for sure. And for our listeners, if you want to connect with Maria, her social media will be below. We'll have a link to her firm below. If you're looking for accounting services, give her a call. Maybe that's a fit for what you're looking for in your business. Um, so, Marie, thank you again for being on today.
Thank
Can you leave
you.
us with
Thank
a
you.
final word?
Yeah, my final word would be build discipline. And I cannot stress that enough. Build discipline around the things that are important to you, whether it's family, business. Find that thing that actually works, keep it as a discipline because discipline actually builds consistency and consistency builds success.
I think that's what I'm going to call the show. Build discipline around the things that matter to you. Thank you. You gave me the title to the show. I love it.
Awesome.
Just
Thank
saved me.
you.
I didn't even have to ask AI. Perfect. Done. I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Frank. I appreciate having me on the show.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it and I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Sounds good. Thank you.